what is minimum wage? You guys can like speak out loud or put it in the chat, but we encourage us to speaking out loud. Minimum wage, you don't have to give the direct definition, but definitely like give some of your personal thoughts and viewpoints about it. Hold
on. Okay, so minimum wage, my sister and I, we picked this topic because it has been around for decades. And it is also one of the most discussed issues in the Supreme Court. We feel like we should bring this topic, and you guys should give your own definition of what this means, either put in the chat or speak it. And I think what minimum wage means is, obviously the literal meaning is the minimum amount need to be paid to an employee for an hour. But what does it really mean? Like, is it just about the money? How does it affect the economy? So what are some questions we should ask ourselves when thinking about minimum wage, Amy?
Okay, so I have them attached in later slides, but because we want to make this meeting more entertaining, we're gonna choose our sides. So I think it was included in the prompt that you should choose whether you agree with the concept of minimum wage or you don't. So please type in the chat, everyone, okay? Type in the chat if you oppose this idea or you agree with it, and prepare to provide reasoning, because we're gonna get into the discussion very soon.
When we start this discussion or debate, we're gonna have to need equal amount of people on each side. I will take whatever side that is lacking people. And also in the future, prepare to be on the side that you don't agree with. So that's another fun thing we might be doing, right, Amy? Okay.
Okay, yeah, so like always be prepared to take whatever side that is available, just because like say if you're relating to the real world, just in a regular classroom, you don't always get what you want, and you don't always get what like you're good at.
Okay, so here are the questions that you could think about. You definitely don't need to base your think on these questions, but those are just questions we prepare that you could base your thinking on. Okay, so one person from the opposing team speaks and one person from the agreed side speaks. You can oppose my argument and make a new argument, and we will take turns. And one person cannot speak twice if not everyone on their team have spoken. Are the rules clear? If yes, raise your hand if you understand the rules. Okay, good. So I will start. Today I took the opposing side of the necessary for minimum wage, and the first question is, should only certain people have a minimum wage? I think that if there is a minimum wage, then that should apply to everyone. But then if there is not, then it doesn't apply to anyone. Because I think there should be equality to everyone, every citizen in the United States. But since I lived in California before, I went to this public school near the grape farms where there is a lot of illegal immigrants, and those people do not have minimum wage because they are not even working legally. For those people, I don't think there should be a minimum wage, because that's how much they are pricing themselves as. They agree to do this job, and no one ever forced them to do this job for this amount of money. And that is the end of my argument.
I don't know if anyone on the agreeing team is going to speak, but I don't mind going first.
Go ahead.
So I think there should be a minimum wage in place because it prevents people from being financially exploited. But I haven't really thought about the fact that there's, illegal immigrants and how they they don't have like a proper job. And I didn't really think about those factors, but I just kind of thought about generally that there should be one.
Yes, and like I agree with LJ. I think in order to create like economic stabilization and like to post depression economy and to protect workers in like especially the labor force, there should be a minimum wage since like human labor is valuable to a certain degree and there shouldn't be a lower of who one is. Like I think even if like illegal immigrants come, they are willing to work, but there should be a certain degree of human labor and how much that values no matter like what the person's identity is, you know, because like let's just consider history, like American history. We had slaves, right? Slaves, they weren't even paid to do labor. They were just born to do labor because of their skin color, and why we fixed it because it was unequal. And I think that opposing Rena's argument, everyone should have a minimum wage no matter of their identity, their skin color, or their race.
In my opinion, I oppose what you said because, as Rena said, illegal immigrant comes here and they said that you should pay a certain amount, but even people that are in the states illegally, they don't want to work, in the fields because it's hard, with attention on the best. So if they're working, labor or something that's not really any great, conditions, they should be paid more depending on what they're doing as someone that's doing something else. I'm not saying that people that are working in the store should be less or anything because they should be paid according on what they're doing or what they're offering to for a company, for the stores and the industry that they're working as. So yeah.
Well, Amy addressed about slavery back in United history, whether or not that is one of our ugly history, but I think this shouldn't be compared with slavery because slavery is forced, but this is working as you want, even though your life is forcing you to work, but no one from the outside is forcing you to work at this minimum amount of payment.
From the beginning, did Rena say that everyone should have a minimum wage?
Okay, what I said was I don't think there should be a minimum wage no matter who you are because you're putting yourself up in this position and no one forced you to work at this amount of payment. That was my argument.
I think yes, you need to be a minimum wage because some companies can exploit people and less pay them because they are immigrants and that is not correct. There need to be equality in all humans, and I think there's need to be a minimum wage to protect the people for being exploited. Like here in Mexico, the minimum wage is $7 per day. Like it's very low, and some people go to United States to get a best salary to improve their lives, and I think there need to be a minimum wage that improve the people of the person that are being exploited from some companies. That is my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Gino in terms of people wanting a better life and coming to America to hope for a better future. And like that adds on to agreeing with the concept of minimum wage where all human beings should have equal opportunities and equal rights and liberty to be able to fight for what they want or what they achieve. Say like moving from Mexico or even like our family moving to America for a better chance, for a better opportunity for new explorations. Yeah. I think now it's the opposing side's turn.
So if I can take the word because I'm on the opposing side. So I thought about people without motivation working for some companies. Maybe they shouldn't get the minimum wage. Maybe their employer could give them less. Or if they do on purpose their work badly, they spoil their assignment work, maybe again, they can give them less. And of course, when it gets like really bad, the situation gets really bad, they can just kick them out. But to the point that the employer wants to be kind of fair, they want to keep them, they, for instance, know that they have children and stuff like that, they can give less money.
So basically, if I'm not understanding, if I'm understanding it correctly, you're saying that basically if a company is paying someone really low, they can just quit a job and find a new one, and it is their choice for the amount of payment they're receiving. Am I understanding it correctly?
Well, I wanted to say that when they're doing their job poorly, the employer can kick them out because they're not giving anything to the company. Of course, if they're not satisfied with the amount of money that they get for their work, they can leave the company by themselves. But if it gets to the point that they're really just messing everything around, the employer, of course, can kick them out.
Yes, and that is one of the issues of, that's one of the issues with minimum wage is that employee, they don't feel like they're being paid enough. And that's due to that, they're not doing a good job. And that's also one of the big issues that why minimum wage should be a thing or should not be a thing, or how much minimum should be. I think right now is $13. And they're arguing for 15, and I think a lot of employees are not working as hard as they could is because of the amount they're being paid. And for those of you who are not comfortable speaking yet, you can also type in the chat and Amy and I can read it out loud. And this is supposed to be a debate or a discussion. It is the first time. I think it's going pretty successfully since people are speaking, but at the end our goal is to get everyone speaking, because the more that you think, the more that you drive yourself, the more you will improve and get yourself out of it.
Said that Zara made a very clear point about how some people shouldn't get a certain amount of payments while they don't work what they deserve. But also, I still agree with the minimum wage, because if they are not meeting the standards, they should be hired, because companies wouldn't want extra people to be there and just being there, even if they're not being paid or paid to a certain amount, the company wouldn't want to employ someone that's not working towards their standard, and they won't get fired. Maybe they can find another job or something else that they are more passionate about or they're like better at. So I think minimum wage should still apply, but the company should fire those who does not meet the standards. And I think Ella wants to go from the opposing side.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think there shouldn't be a minimum wage law and more of a suggestion, because particularly with small businesses might not be able to afford to pay minimum wage for all of their employees. And if someone still wants to be employed and they're happy to work for less than the current minimum wage, then I don't think anyone is forcing them to actually take the job.
I feel like minimum wage is like necessary because like I feel like it should only apply to like those who are less experienced and like are beginners to a job, but then like to people who are more experienced and have a higher like position like CEO or something, they should like not have the minimum wage. But the minimum wage, like it pays enough for people like to pay for your food, clothes, or shelter. Like it's affordable, so that's why it should still apply.
Yeah, so I'm on the opposing side, but so recently I'm doing research on minimum wage, and I heard a story about this girl who lives in Atlanta. It's a city in Georgia. It's in the U.S. And this girl, she works at a coffee shop for a pay of $11 per hour. She started working on this job since high school till now, and she never bought herself any new clothes or new living. And her biggest expense is house renting. Surviving at this minimum wage and focusing on her education, which is college, she was able to survive, but at a very low conditional life. I think that, you know, thinking in a way where there should be minimum wage, she is living at minimum wage. But I think she could find herself a better opportunity than working at a coffee shop, which means pushing herself more. But since there is a minimum wage, she is relying herself on this minimum wage. So I think another reason I disagree with minimum wage is because minimum wage is stopping people from pushing themselves when they know that there is a limit of the lowest, if that makes sense.
Okay, so Grecio from the opposing team wants to go, but we need someone from the agreeing team to go first. So does anyone want to go that have not gone yet? Alina or Hannah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I
Okay,
have a
so
word?
yeah, can you
So,
go after someone from the agreement? Okay.
who was the last to say something? It was Serena or yeah. I want to disagree with Serena because they know the minimum wage, so they can push them more. So like I mean, sorry, my English isn't that great. So I mean like they know the minimum, so they can push them more because they know the minimum and they want the. I think uh, the most of percentage, the most of people, they want to be better and better. So if they know the minimum, they will push them more and be the better. So the the others can admire them. Do you know what I mean? I hope I said it right.
Maybe you could type in the chat because I don't think we can hear you quite clearly.
Okay.
Is anyone from the agreeing side willing to speak? I saw Diana, you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to say, although she could leave her job for a higher paying job, it would be more of a gamble because if she's studying along with working, if she gives up her job, she's taking a gamble to see if she can continue studying, if she can put food on the table, how a roof over her head. That's why a lot of people, although there's not a person physically forcing them to work, there is a societal pressure or their own financial pressure to make sure that they have a safety net somewhere, something to eat, a place to live.
May I go again?
Of course, just jump in.
Okay, so you said that this girl works at a coffee shop for $11 an hour. Like, although it's like she's living at a minimum wage and it's not enough for her and she's not able to buy new clothes and all, but she still has enough to eat and pay her income, which is like the main like goal for living. And what's that called? Some people like work hard to get to a higher job and to get a higher position or get paid higher. And this girl obviously did not take the chance to go get an opportunity or get a chance to get like a higher paying job. And according to this article by www.balance.com, it says the minimum wage should provide enough income to afford a living wage. The amount is needed to provide enough food, clothing, and shelter. She had enough to eat and what's it called, live. So like, yeah, although it's like she's living not good enough as other people, she's still like living. Like she can have another opportunity, but obviously she didn't take it.
Can I go now?
Yeah.
Okay. Malik, I want to like agree to disagree. Yes, of course, people can work harder for like much more better opportunities and like higher paycheck, of course. But most in this society, people get judged if they don't have the age or the experience. Like the people in in Sonic or fast food industries, they don't really care if you have the experience because they need the people. And as I think Amy said this that even or someone else I do not remember. Even if they don't have all the qualifications or not doing their best at the job, they, they're being hired. They're still being paid for not doing this and that. But they have all these requirements for another job that may pay them more, so much more than the current job. But because they don't have the experience on that tip, on that type of field, they won't like pay or because they're young or because they're old. Because those are some factors that really affects people for not getting the job that they want. Because if they're not known in the on the eye of the public, they will not be paid or anything. But also what you said about it was Amy, right? And you also referring to her story about this high school working at a coffee shop that they're being just being paid minimum wage, you're barely surviving and everything. But on this article I found, it said that just wait a moment, find it. Yes, I don't expect to be rich, but I just expect to pay the heat bills. The minimum wage, yes, you just get paid to just pay the bills because like you said, barely. But minimum wage, if you work as much as someone else, it doesn't matter if you're the same age or not. You just may still be paid less because of your experience or your time in the industry. That will not be fair because you're working the same. Of course, you sign a contract saying that isn't that, but because of the moment, you had to accept the job because there wasn't any other resources at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, Gracie, you made some really solid points there. Alina wrote in the comment section that in her opinion, the most people want to be better and better. So if they know what the minimum wage is, they would push them more and be better and have more people, because when someone don't know the minimum wage, they can think that, for example, $5 per day is okay, so they would let it be and just receive $5. Oh, so Alina, you're opposing it? Are you agreeing with Rena? Oh, okay. And then LJ from the opposing. Oh, okay. And let me see. And Hannah said, I personally think people should have the advantage of the minimum wage as it is a fundamental for survival, but I think the minimum wage should provide everything for a human as a food and shelter. So in economics, there's wants and needs, right? Wants is what human wants, like what they desire, but needs is what they need. And the purpose of minimum wage is to provide for human needs. Um, and I think another point that I was preparing for during the 10 minutes was that minimum wage increases stimulate the economy by increasing consumer spending without adding like state and federal budgets, because once the money goes to the workers, they immediately spend it on local businesses, which supports the economy by creating more jobs. And I think this is one solid point. And then also relating to Rena's coffee shop example, I think minimum wage should be required. And I think that girl in college, that was her only source of income because she wants to, like someone else said, I forgot, like she wants to focus on her education. She wants to also get a degree before like entrepreneuring or getting a better job without like the lowest minimum wage. And that was her only opportunity and only like way to earn money for food and shelter, the basic things like a lot other people say.
So Amy from the agreeing side just spoke. Does anyone from the opposing side want to speak?
I can go next. Of course, if you get more money, you can spend it. You spend it locally, but you don't get to make new jobs in your area, because the jobs that are already there that won't get any more, because certain areas, like producing certain stuff, will just move into foreign countries where there's no or low minimum wage. Because why would companies produce with workers you have to pay more than in other countries, like China or India, when it's much cheaper producing there, you know?
I didn't quite understand your argument. Are you trying to say, since you're in the opposing side, are you trying to say, like, if there is a massive amount of workload in China and India, it should apply the same in the United States, that there shouldn't be a minimum wage?
No, like what I'm trying to say is there are not more jobs generated if the people are earning more, because the jobs that are already there, I mean, they get more, but jobs in certain areas like producing stuff just move to other countries, so there are not more jobs, there are more less jobs.
Oh, so I understand what you're saying. You're saying that because if there is a minimum wage, then that would be too much for companies to afford. That's why they move to countries without a minimum wage. For example, China or India.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But since before this meeting, I prepared to be on both sides, one of the issues that like if I were on the agreeing side, one of the arguments I would make is to think about the economy overall. One of the issues that the US economy is facing is a lot of people are working under minimum wage. Like they're willing to work at a price under minimum wage, which means if companies can get people that requires less pay, they can fire those people who requires a lot of pay. So that caused an issue of people losing their jobs because they require a minimum wage, when there is people who are here that does not need that minimum wage to replace them. And if I were on the agreeing side, I would say that there should be a minimum wage, because without a minimum wage, it will cause a lot of unemployment of those people who requires a minimum wage, of those people who want to get paid a certain amount. So then they won't get replaced by people who don't care how much they get paid as long as they get paid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and even before the law of minimum wage, like in the beginning where all the immigrants are coming to the new nation, like a lot of like locals are complaining that immigrants are taking over their jobs because they are more or just very skillful but requiring very less pay. And yeah, Rena makes a very clear point for the agreeing side. Evidence.
Zara, you have your hand up. Did you want to speak?
Well, yes. I also want to say that I was prepared to be on an agreeing side, and I haven't heard anyone saying what I have written here. I wanted to say that I think minimum wage should be here because we could develop cheap labor, like in Asia, like we said, in China, India. And, you know, just as Rena said, because there are people, immigrants or no immigrants, that are willing to work under minimum wage, the people working there would get fired, and that would cause the cheap labor basically all over the globe if we wouldn't have the minimum wage in countries like the more developed countries. Yeah, but I'm sorry if like this is bad because I'm now on the opposing side, but I was prepared to agree with it, and I think this is kind of a big statement. Or
yeah, Zara, That is a very good point, and don't ever apologize for your thoughts or you've prepared for, because that's very good. And like as we're approaching the end, I think everyone should be able to talk about what they prepared for and what other opinions they might have. They might have a middle stance where they agree and disagree with the idea of minimum wage, and that's totally fine. So if anyone else have something they prepared for that have not been said, feel free to just jump in.
Also have to prepare for both sides in case one is more than the other. I was going to say that companies that have minimum wage, they benefit a lot from that because they can go to other country that don't have it and make the product cheaper and sell it where they're high prices but still have good quality and pay their employees minimum wage because you're just working for this and that, you're just selling this, like I said before, people can use this excuse that you're you're just selling this product. Why are you supposed to be paid more? Otherwise, if I was in the on the agreeing side, I would say that you're just doing this. Why should I be paying you more? You are only sustaining yourself. You don't have a family, and that person that is being paid more, than the requirement wage because they're doing more and because they have a family or someone they got support. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I'm really happy that some people have prepared for both sides and is taking this seriously. I think from this meeting, I learned that it's always best to not only speak your opinion, but thinking how to disagree with your own opinion, thinking from multiple point of views, right? And that's how you will learn how to engage in situations where people might not agree with you. You have to think on other people's point of views. And again, I'm going to repeat myself, for this club, the amount that you contribute, the amount of research that you do equally equals the amount that you receive. And everyone has a different purpose of doing things that they're doing. But I hope that you're putting your full effort into things you're doing, so you're not just wasting your time. And that's one of the lessons I learned from the hard way, because I started my own business at a pretty young age that I will consider. But before I have started my business, before becoming successful in the stock market, I have experienced many things and stopped halfway. And those things are the things that I have wasted a lot of my time on. And when I finally come to realize to not waste your time on things that you're not focusing on, that is when I actually started being focused on my business, my career, on the stocks, and that's how I was able to become as successful as I am today.
Yeah, Rena's conclusion is very nice, and I think all of you can gain something from today, and for sure gain a good knowledge of minimum wage and about what it is.
So I hope you guys learned something, even if you didn't participate. I hope you can take this meeting as an example of what to do for the next meeting. You can get a general idea of what.
Okay, we're gonna wait like 2 more minutes before the group picture. And then does anyone have any questions about like the meeting, next meeting, website, anything? And notes submission if anyone took any notes.
Amy, I have a question. So what we've heard, we only discussed like the first two questions. Will we discuss the rest, or will we move to a different topic?
Do you mean next time? Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
every time we will give out guiding questions. So like we can move on into different topics and different type of questions. Those questions are just for getting the conversation started. So next time we're going to move to a different topic, and then there's when I was introducing the website, there's like the topic request form. So if you have a topic you want to discuss about, feel free to put it in. And then also host a meeting form is all up as well.
If you have any more questions about anything, please type in the chat. Amy and I can stay after the meeting to answer more if you guys have.
Zara, you're the winner. Good job. I think you did a very good job in like helping your team, but as well as like giving out what you prepared for, which is really, really nice. And you spoke a lot, very clear projection, and we will award your points. But you'll be able to see, and we will send you an email after regarding that. All right. Okay, perfect. And if you don't have any questions, you can feel free to leave. Of course. All right. Hopefully I get to see you guys next time, and we hope you guys learned something today and had a fun time. If you don't have any questions, you can feel free to leave.